Birbal caught the thief. Worksheet. Fill in the blanks with the past continuous form of the verb using the verbs given in the brackets. ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఈ వర్బ్స్ని పాస్ట్ కంటిన్యూస్ ఫామ్లో రాయాలన్నమాట. The teacher stopped the children when they dash out of their classrooms. ఇక్కడ మనకి verb ఏమి ఇచ్చారు? go. వాళ్ళ టీచర్ స్టాప్డ్ ద చిల్డ్రన్, పిల్లల్ని ఆపారు. ఎప్పుడు? వెన్ దే ఆర్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ దేర్ క్లాస్ రూమ్స్, వాళ్ళు క్లాస్ రూమ్స్లో నుంచి బయటికి వెళ్ళిపోతుంటాయి. అంటే ఆల్రెడీ జరిగిపోయింది, పాస్ట్ కంటిన్యూస్ జరుగుతూ ఉందన్నమాట. కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ ఏమొస్తుంది? దే వర్ గోయింగ్ అవుట్, గోయింగ్. The teacher stopped the children when they were going out of their classrooms. The doctor dash examined the patient when I entered the room. నేను రూమ్లోకి ఎంటర్ అయినప్పుడు, అంటే ఎంటర్ అయినప్పుడు డాక్టర్ ఏం చేస్తున్నారు? ఎగ్జామింగ్ ద పేషెంట్ని ఎగ్జామిన్ చేస్తున్నారు. జరిగిపోయింది కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ డాక్టర్ ఒక్కళ్ళే సింగులర్ కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ మనం ఏం రాస్తాం? was examining. The doctor was examining the patient when I entered the room. Lata fell down while she dashed the tree. Climb అంటే ఇక్కడ కంటిన్యూస్ కాబట్టి క్లైంబింగ్ వస్తుంది. పాస్ట్ కంటిన్యూస్ కాబట్టి she was climbing. Climbing the tree. Lata fell down while she was climbing the tree. While Josna dashed her homework, the lights went off. ఇక్కడ జోస్నా హోంవర్క్ చేసుకుంటున్నప్పుడు ఏమైందంట? లైట్స్ వెంట్ ఆఫ్, ఆగిపోయినాయి అన్నమాట. సో జోస్నా వాజ్ డూయింగ్, పాస్ట్లో ఉంది కాబట్టి వాజ్ వస్తుంది. కంటిన్యూస్ కాబట్టి డూయింగ్ అనేది వర్బ్కి ఇంఫార్మ్ చేస్తుంది. కాబట్టి వైల్ జోస్నా వాజ్ డూయింగ్ హర్ హోంవర్క్, ద లైట్స్ వెంట్ ఆఫ్. Fill in the blanks with suitable forms of verbs. See the correct agreement between the subject and the verb. They dash singing patriotic songs at school prayer when the మండల్ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ ఆఫీసర్ విజిటెడ్ ద స్కూల్. అంటే మండల్ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ ఆఫీసర్ విజిట్ చేశారు, వచ్చినప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తున్నారంట? దే సింగింగ్ పేట్రియాటిక్ సాంగ్స్. ఇక్కడ ప్లూరల్ వచ్చింది దే అనేది, కాబట్టి మనం ఇక్కడ ఏం రాయాలి? వాజ్ రాస్తామా, వర్ రాస్తామా? వర్. దే వర్ సింగింగ్ పేట్రియాటిక్ సాంగ్స్. Navya dash bringing vegetables from the market when I met her on the road. నేను నవ్యాని కలిసినప్పుడు ఆ అమ్మాయి ఏం చేస్తుంది? బ్రింగింగ్ వెజిటబుల్స్, మార్కెట్ నుంచి కూరగాయలు తీసుకొని వస్తుందన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ నవ్య అనేది సింగులర్ కాబట్టి మనం ఏం రాయాలి? వాజ్ రాస్తామా, వర్ రాస్తామా? వాజ్. నవ్య వాజ్ బ్రింగింగ్ వెజిటబుల్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ద మార్కెట్ when I met her on the road. Mary dash crossing the bridge when the bus horns. బస్సు హార్న్ మోగించినప్పుడు మేరీ ఏం చేస్తుంది? క్రాసింగ్ ద బ్రిడ్జ్. మేరీ బ్రిడ్జ్ని క్రాస్ చేస్తుంది. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం రాస్తాం మనం? ఈజ్ రాస్తామా, ఆర్ రాస్తామా? మేరీ అనేది సింగులర్ కాబట్టి ఈజ్ రాయాలి. ఆర్ అనేది ప్లూరల్కి వస్తుంది. సో మేరీ ఈజ్. Mary is crossing the bridge when the bus horns. Vane and Samuel dash flying kites when their teacher called. ఇక్కడ కాల్డ్ అంటే పాస్ట్ టెన్స్లో కాబట్టి మనం ఏం రాస్తాం? మామూలుగా అయితే వాణి అండ్ శామ్యూల్ ఇద్దరు ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి ప్లూరల్ కాబట్టి ఆర్ రాయాలనుకుంటాం. కానీ ఇది ఇక్కడ ఏంటి? కాల్డ్, పాస్ట్ టెన్స్లో జరిగిపోయిన దాని గురించి చెప్తున్నారు. వాళ్ళ టీచర్ పిలిచారు, అప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు వీళ్ళిద్దరూ? కైట్స్ ఎగరేస్తున్నారు. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం రాస్తాం? WERE were. Vani and Samuel were flying kites when their teacher called. Simple past tense. Affirmative sentences. Subject plus second form of verb. I ate, you ate, we ate, they ate, he ate, she ate, it ate. Simple past tense, negative sentences. I did not eat, you did not eat, we did not eat, they did not eat, he did not eat, she did not eat, it did not eat. Simple past tense, negative form, subject plus did not plus verb first form, did not, contraction didn't. I didn't eat, you didn't eat, we didn't eat, they didn't eat, he didn't eat, she didn't eat, it didn't eat. Simple past tense, interrogative sentences. Did plus subject plus first form of verb. Did I eat? Did you eat? Did we eat? Did they eat? Did he eat? Did she eat? Did it eat? Didn't I eat? Didn't you eat? Didn't we eat? Didn't they eat? Didn't he eat? Didn't she eat? Didn't it eat? Simple past tense, double H questions. What did I eat? What did you eat? What did we eat? What did they eat? What did he eat? What did she eat? What did it eat? When did I eat? When did you eat? When did we eat? When did they eat? When did he eat? When did she eat? When did it eat? Why did I eat? Why did you eat? Why did we eat? Why did they eat? Why did he eat? Why did she eat? Why did it eat? How did I eat? How did you eat? How did we eat? How did they eat? How did he eat? How did she eat? How did it eat? Where did I eat? Where did you eat? Where did we eat? Where did they eat? Where did he eat? Where did she eat? Where did it eat? Past continuous tense, affirmative sentences, subject plus be plus verb in form. I was eating, you were eating, we were eating, they were eating, he was eating, she was eating, it was eating. Past continuous tense, negative form, subject plus be not plus in form of verb. I was not eating, you were not eating, we were not eating, they were not eating, he was not eating, she was not eating, it was not eating. With contractions, I wasn't eating, you weren't eating, we weren't eating, they weren't eating, he wasn't eating, she wasn't eating, it wasn't eating. Past continuous tense, interrogative forms, be plus subject plus in form of verb. Was I eating? Were you eating? Were we eating? Were they eating? Was he eating? Was she eating? Was it eating? Wasn't I eating? Weren't you eating? Weren't we eating? Weren't they eating? Wasn't he eating? Wasn't she eating? Wasn't it eating? Past continuous tense, double H questions. What was I eating? What were you eating? What were we eating? What were they eating? What was he eating? What was she eating? What was it eating? When was I eating? When were you eating? When were we eating? When were they eating? When was he eating? When was she eating? When was it eating? Why was I eating? Why were you eating? Why were we eating? Why were they eating? Why was he eating? Why was she eating? Why was it eating? How was I eating? How were you eating? How were we eating? How were they eating? How was she eating? How was he eating? How was she eating? How was it eating? Where was I eating? Where were you eating? Where were we eating? Where were they eating? Where was he eating? Where was she eating? Where was it eating? Past perfect tense. Affirmative sentences. Subject plus had plus third form of verb. I had eaten. You had eaten. We had eaten. They had eaten. He had eaten. She had eaten. It had eaten. Past perfect tense. Negative sentences. Subject plus had plus not plus third form of verb. I had not eaten. You had not eaten. We had not eaten. They had not eaten. He had not eaten. She had not eaten. It had not eaten. With contractions. I hadn't eaten. You hadn't eaten. We hadn't eaten. They hadn't eaten. He hadn't eaten. She hadn't eaten. It hadn't eaten. Past perfect tense. Interrogative sentences. Had plus subject plus third form of verb. Had I eaten? Had you eaten? Had we eaten? Had they eaten? Had he eaten? Had she eaten? Had it eaten? Hadn't I eaten? Hadn't you eaten? Hadn't we eaten? Hadn't they eaten? Hadn't he eaten? Hadn't she eaten? Hadn't it eaten? Double H questions. What had I eaten? What had you eaten? What had we eaten? What had they eaten? What had he eaten? What had she eaten? What had it eaten? When had I eaten? When had you eaten? When had we eaten? When had they eaten? When had he eaten? When had she eaten? When had it eaten? Why had I eaten? Why had you eaten? Why had we eaten? Why had they eaten? Why had he eaten? Why had she eaten? Why had it eaten? How had I eaten? How had you eaten? How had we eaten? How had they eaten? How had he eaten? How had she eaten? How had it eaten? Where had I eaten? Where had you eaten? Where had we eaten? Where had they eaten? Where had he eaten? Where had she eaten? Where had it eaten? TLM for past perfect tense. Past perfect continuous tense. Affirmative sentences. Subject plus had plus been plus ing form of verb. I had been eating. You had been eating. We had been eating. They had been eating. He had been eating. She had been eating. It had been eating. Past perfect continuous tense. Negative sentences. Subject plus had plus not plus been plus ing form of verb. I had not been eating. You had not been eating. We had not been eating. They had not been eating. He had not been eating. She had not been eating. It had not been eating. with contractions. I hadn't been eating. You hadn't been eating. We hadn't been eating. They hadn't been eating. He hadn't been eating. She hadn't been eating. It hadn't been eating. Past perfect continuous tense interrogative sentences. Had plus subject plus been plus ing form of verb. Had I been eating? Had you been eating? Had we been eating? Had they been eating? Had he been eating? Had she been eating? Had it been eating? Hadn't I been eating? Hadn't you been eating? Hadn't we been eating? Hadn't they been eating? Hadn't he been eating? Hadn't she been eating? Hadn't it been eating? Double H questions. What had I been eating? What had you been eating? What had we been eating? What had they been eating? What had he been eating? What had she been eating? What had it been eating? When had I been eating? When had you been eating? When had we been eating? When had they been eating? When had he been eating? When had she been eating? When had it been eating? Why had I been eating? Why had you been eating? Why had we been eating? Why had they been eating? Why had he been eating? Why had she been eating? Why had it been eating? How had I been eating? How had you been eating? How had we been eating? How had they been eating? How had he been eating? How had she been eating? How had it been eating? Where had I been eating? Where had you been eating? Where had we been eating? Where had they been eating? Where had he been eating? Where had she been eating? Where had it been eating?